So let's go back. I want to make sure the listeners understand about this Free State Project / New Hampshire. Can you just give a little background on why New Hampshire and what the point is of this people moving to New Hampshire?
Sure. About, I'm going to say 10 years ago, back in the early 2000s, the idea came up to get 20,000 people to move to a specific spot, to a specific state, rather. The idea being that, well, we're all liberty activists and liberty-minded people are spread out all over the country, and their effect is diluted by that because they're 1 in 1,000 in their area. They're the only person, them and their friends are the only people in their community. They can't get anything done. So the idea was to get 20,000 people to move to a small area. Once they had 5,000 people sign up for the project, they held a vote where several states kind of competed for winning that vote, and New Hampshire won overwhelmingly, just overwhelmingly. And the reason New Hampshire won is mostly it has a small population, so the 20,000 activists would be proportionately more effective there.
Bigger influence.
Absolutely. It's already a very liberty-minded state. I mean, they live free or die is their motto. They don't have seatbelt laws. You don't have to have insurance for your car. Not that those are bad things to do, but you should have the choice.
Right.
So it's already liberty-minded. And the idea is once you get 20,000 activists, not just people, but 20,000 activists, you can affect change, and set an example for the rest of the states. Go, look, it's working here for us. Look, having truly free markets, having minimal government, it works, and it works better than everywhere else. Other good points of New Hampshire: one of the lowest unemployments in the states, or out of the 50 states, one of the lowest crime rates out there. I mean, if you go to the freestateproject.org, they have 101 reasons, although I think they've added a whole bunch reasons to move to New Hampshire.
They just keep finding more reasons.
Just more and more reasons, and it's getting better.
Have you been kind of tracking it since what year did you say you first looked into it?
I signed up. Well, I signed up I think a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I've been following it for like 3 years.
So you've been seeing the change even in New Hampshire. So I guess what I'm asking is, do they track how many people are actually moving there, and in a year and a half, how many have actually moved to New Hampshire?
Well, the idea is once they get 20,000 people to sign up for the project, that within 5 years, those 20,000 people will move. But there are a lot of people who said, we can't wait, we're moving now, and they are tracking that, and they already have about 1,000 people who have just said, let's go. And with just 1,000 people, and this is another key point for New Hampshire, they have one of the lowest populations, but one of the largest numbers of legislatures in their state house, 400, and those legislatures only make $100 a year. So everyone,
legislators, in other words,
like
are representatives,
right?
Yeah, so they have
so
they make $100 a year.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big bonus right there, getting the money out of that.
That's amazing.
But with just 20,000, or not 20,000, but with just 1,000 activists, not the whole 20,000, but just 1,000, they already have like a dozen members of the Free State Project, or people who lean or are sympathetic with the cause, who are now legislatures, and they're already starting to push through legislation that's already making the state better. So with just 1,000 people, and it technically hasn't even started yet because they haven't even got 20,000 people to sign up, they're already making a big impact.
That is awesome. Well, other things, so you on the video you could see people packing guns, right?
Yeah, there's several photojournalists, videographers who document what they do and their activism, and that's actually where we've learned a lot of how to represent ourselves and to poise ourselves and whatnot.
So can they talk on cell phones and drive back there in that state?
I don't know specifically, but I would not be surprised.
Unbelievable. That may be a reason to move right there.
Well, I like the no seatbelt.
Huh? No seatbelt?
Well, I have to tell you, and not that I don't believe in seatbelts.
Can you?
It just bothers me that I'm being treated like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a difference. I've got a 1939, right?
Yeah.
Legally, in California, I don't have to wear my seatbelt because it's a 1939.
Right.
Anything older than, I believe it's 64. I may have the date wrong, right? Yeah. But if they weren't put in the car, you don't have to have them, consequently. Now, if you do have them, you have to use them.
Yeah.
So it's that deal, but it's the same thing with the helmet law.
Yeah.
It's riding a motorcycle is great.
Yeah.
Without a helmet.
Right.
And then it's again the safety thing. I understand all that, but it's being made to do it.
Right.
And it's your safety.
Yeah.
It's not that you're putting someone else at risk by not wearing a seatbelt.
Right.
They're saying they're protecting you from you.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, that's not what they passed it on. They passed it on the fact that if I bang up my head and can't work, you guys got to pay for it. So
Right.
for you guys' benefit, I have to wear a
And that's
helmet.
the problem right there, is that why would we have to pay for you making the choice not to wear a helmet
Well,
and getting
that's
banged
my
up?
thinking. If you don't wear a helmet and you don't have insurance that covers that,
Right.
do you know what I mean? Then I don't think other people should have to pay for you being
Right.
a vegetable.
Personal responsibility is
Right,
very important.
exactly. So is that part of what they're talking about? With
Yeah, I mean, the group is composed of people from all points of the political spectrum: Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians. Heck, there are even people who call themselves voluntarists and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you can go look up these terms. But there's people from all over. But one of the key things is, personal responsibility and smaller government. So.
Right. So, like I was looking at some of the literature you've handed over here, this one card, it says libertyontour.com, libertyontour.com. You might want to look that up out there. It says, are you tired of invasive government? Do you believe that you know best how to run your life? I think a lot of people need to ask themselves that if they've lost confidence that they can actually run their life anymore, that they
Not
need
me. I
they need
can't.
somebody to check in with, am I doing this right? I don't know.
I was hoping that you'd adopt me, Lou.
Just,
I really
make those
lost
calls
my
for
way.
you?
Could you take care of me?
Yeah, just call Lou line.
Yeah,
Just call Lou, and
We're gonna
if
change it
If you
from
got up this morning and you're a little confused,
Yeah.
don't know where to go
Right.
this morning, call Lou.
Yeah, instead of live with Lou, we're going to call it live with Lou.
Live with Lou. Yeah, let's all get together. Well, you went down to the airport and did something. I could see your expression when I told you I got raped down there.
Yeah.
I'm just really stuck on what to do. And you've got this pin that says, "We won't fly. We won't fly. Act now. Travel with dignity." WeWon'tFly.com. That's another website, right? That people are.
Yep.
This whole thing. This gal, like I said last week, this Napolitano, I wouldn't have her as head of my neighborhood watch. This gal is. She is crazy. But what happened down there? What'd you do down there at the airport? Did you go to Sacramento or San Francisco?
We went to Sacramento. We're lazy.
Yeah, sure. Just down the road.
It's close. They actually didn't have the scanners at the time. They have gotten them since. But the idea is, okay, maybe you're flying out of Sacramento and there's not a scanner there, but on your way back you may be coming back through an airport that
definitely.
has them, and it's just to raise awareness. But we went down there. There was just a few of us, and we were really surprised. We thought more people would be there, and that's what made us really realize that there's not a big activism community here, like there are in other places.
there was an organized effort.
Yeah, WeWon'tFly.com, and there were rallies on day before Thanksgiving, I think it was, and Christmas Eve, where there were rallies all over the country, airports all over the place, and
Not me.
some had tens, dozens of people, some had hundreds. I shouldn't say any of them. I don't know if any of them had 100, but lots of people. And ours, we had 4 people. It was me and my brother and a couple other people. And so that's why we ended up starting our own activism group here in the area.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, with the We Won't Fly stuff, my mother she's determined she's not going to fly.
Okay.
Yeah, she's had to skip going to Washington, D.C. for her school board because she says, I'm not going to fly. My father has already told his commanders, I guess, that he doesn't plan on taking commercial flights if they want him to.
They need him to.
Yeah. So because there's no sense in us giving him rights. I mean, there's nothing when you buy a ticket that says, I hereby cede all of my constitutional rights in order to travel.
Right.
And that's what it is. And you have a right to travel. We have a right to travel freely within the United States. And they can say, well, you don't have a right to fly, or you don't have a right to drive, but you do. The fact that they claim you don't doesn't mean it's so.
Uh-huh. Well, it says you have a right to say no. No radiation strip search, no groping of genitals. Say, I opt out.
Which I was going to tell you, when they tell you to go through the scanner, tell them you opt out.
Right.
Now, you'll get the heavy grope, but they are likely to do that anyways. Like you said, they found something in the scan, and I bet they did the
They did
full-on
they
pat
groped
down.
me.
So
Yeah.
you might as well just say, I skipped the scan and
I'm gonna do
go
that
straight
next
to
time.
getting groped.
What happened is I got caught it was so intense because I had a whole team with me and I had a whole bunch of people behind me. Everybody's hurrying to get through. And that if you throw a cog in the wheel, everybody's going to freak out, right? Because you're throwing. But next time, I'm onto it. I'm just going to say up front. I'm going to say I'm not a scanner boy. You know.
Yeah,
you know, I went through with my sister, and my sister is elderly, and because of a car accident and arthritis, she barely can stand.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in a rough way, and my older brother and I were taking her to Florida, and for whatever reasons, they decided she's the one they're going to search, and made her stand. And the gal who was searching her felt so bad. She was apologizing the entire time, saying, "Ma'am, you should not be put through this." But you know, her supervisors,
right.
She works. I mean, what's she going to do? So I really
everybody's being bossed by someone.
Yeah,
That's the problem, and as soon as they say, I don't want to do that, they get canned.
Right, and I think that's part of the problem is when we say, it's sort of like when you say the teachers. Okay, all teachers don't think alike. I have a daughter-in-law that's one, and I can tell you, she don't think like a lot of them. Okay, well, it's the same with those security. It's a job, but somewhere it has to stop, right? I know you guys had to see that thing. It went viral on YouTube about the little girl.
Yeah.
And the pictures of her being searched. That was just, buddy, that was over the top. If I'd have been the parents, I'd have been livid.
Yeah.
I'd have said, you know what, she's a little girl. Enough. Yeah. You know, and I don't know at what point does somebody stand up. So it sounds like what you guys are doing is saying, we're going to hit them in the pocketbook. The airlines will force this to change.
That is, hopefully it doesn't come to that, but if necessary, if you get people to stop flying, then yeah, the people, you know, the airlines will go, hey, look, we need to put people in planes and people aren't flying, so can we please stop, you know, molesting people and taking pictures of people and running people through machines that, you know, you say are safe, but third parties are questionable about. And here's the thing. They say it's only airports now, but there were incidents of them putting these checkpoints at train stations.
Right.
And a firefighter and his family going from Florida to, I think it was Alabama or Georgia, they took a train and they went through the security thing when they got off the train. They were forced to go through security when they got off the train. Now, I'm not sure what sense that makes, but then again, it was the government doing it, so I'm not sure that it makes sense.
Well, a lot of people believe that this slow, incremental taking away of our freedoms and explaining, hey, this is just for our own good, right? This is our safety. It's all a safety issue. We need to protect against terrorists. And the fact is that time and time again they're proving that these type of searches do nothing to stop terrorists. If they're going to stop a terrorist, they're not going to catch them in this type of a search deal. So, again, it's government incrementally ripping us off. And people saying, hey, I got to get to grandma's house, so I just got to go through it, right? Or I got to get to my job. They're sending me to Washington, D.C., or I got, like in my case, I take teams into Asia. So you think we spent all this money, am I going to, make an issue here and throw the whole thing down the tube?
You know, I haven't seen anyone do it, but if I had a job that was forcing me to fly and subject myself to these searches and the relinquishment of my rights, I would take it up with my employer and make mention to them that they can't or shouldn't be forcing you to be groped and scanned and searched like that.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wants to admit that they're, because as soon as you say something like I'm getting ready to say, you're part of a conspiracy theorist. But the truth of the matter is, I think it's come to a place where everybody is screaming way too much government control.
Right.
And it's the old story of if you take a frog and you stick him in hot water, he's jumping out. But if you just slowly heat the water, he'll stay in there until you boil him.
Right.
And I think what all these points, and it sounds like the people that you've begun to get connected to are saying each one of these points, in and of itself, you might be able to write off. But you're not going to write them all off. And when you put them all together, somebody's got to stand up. And it sounds to me that you, at your age, has said, I've had enough. I want to make a change. I can see this is going in the wrong direction, and I want to be part of turning it around.